Interested in getting your songs in front of A&R execs? Make sure to check out the American Songwriter 35th Anniversary Song Contest, where you can enter your songs to win some incredible prizes, including $10,000 and a chance to get your songs in front of industry professionals. To enter the contest, go to americansongwriter.com/song-contest and use coupon code ASPN2020 to get 20% off your song entries today. Dave's 5 Hot Takes, yeah! Welcome back, everybody, to another interview edition of Dave's 5 Hot Takes. I'm so glad you guys are back. These are so much fun. I love doing the episodes where it's just me, but I really, really enjoy getting my friends to come on and talk about music and give me their 5 hot takes. This week was no different. This week is a little bit of a cheat because I felt like I sort of cheated with this episode on this episode because Jon McLaughlin, who I interviewed, is one of my dearest friends. He and his wife live across the street. We see them numerous times every day. I laughed that we've kind of started a cult together. It's how much we spend time together. It's so much, in fact, that he and I have started another podcast called Dadville that's about our kids and being dads, because we just spent so much time sitting around talking about it anyway. So if you get a chance, check that out. But Jon I spend so much time with him, I forget how gifted he is. I mean, he is a tour de force of talent. Phenomenal artist, singer, songwriter, prodigious piano player. I can't tell you how gifted he is. I still geek out when he'll come over and play piano in our house and just piddle around. I'll sort of stand right outside of the room and like get goosebumps and spy on him, which is always weird, but sadly he's used to, because I just think how many people would pay so much money to hear him sit in their room and just, play piano, in their house with them. That felt weird. I didn't know where that was going. I pulled the plane out of that bomb quickly, but he is a dear friend. This to brag on Jon some, I'm looking at his little brag sheet here. It's pretty amazing. He's played shows with Billy Joel, Kelly Clarkson, Adele, collaborated with his longtime friend Sarah Bareilles on a song called Summer Is Over. It's so great. Demi Lovato he's written with, performed on the Academy Awards, which we talked about. He sang the song So Close in the movie Enchanted. That's actually him in the movie. He got to play it at the Academy Awards too, which is a hysterical story. He just put out a killer EP. It is, I think, some of the best music he's put out. He also put out an album called Mood, which, a lot of people know Jon for his singing and songwriting, and they know he's a good piano player, but Mood to me really showcases his genuine prodigious gift. And I really don't use prodigy lightly. I really think Jon is a prodigy on the piano. His playing is otherworldly, and it's so unique to him. That's something I always love about what he does. It's not just he plays well, he plays so specific to how he thinks and hears music. And it is, I get goosebumps when I hear him play. It's incredible. And this album, Mood, is just instrumental piano music, and it is so good. I can't tell you guys how good it is. And I just love when my friends flex that way, when they have these kind of gifts that stay a little bit behind the scenes and they get a chance to really shine, because you know how good of an artist he is. And that the Mood records is so cool because it's him really showing you his incredible giftedness on piano. He also has this video series called Dueling Pianos that's so much fun. I thought this was such a genius idea. He has friends on and they both play pianos and sing together like a duet, but both of them playing. I got to do it. Obviously, I wasn't playing piano. That would be a very one-sided affair, but I play guitar, and we did kind of mashups of our song, which is what he does. It's really, really, really great. He's going to be putting out a EP of Christmas songs at the end of this year. He's a real artist. And I know that sounds like something that's easy to say, but I really mean that. Jon to me is the consummate musician. He's so gifted at what he does. He is so much fun to see live. If you ever get a chance, he'll really blow your mind. I'm just so thankful we had a chance to sit down and talk shop, do these 5 hot takes. Jon has played music his whole life. He studied music his whole life, and so I knew he would come in with very well-informed 5 takes, and boy, did he. These were really fun. I listened back and got a kick out of it. So I'm glad you guys are here. Grab some coffee, pull up a chair, and enjoy Dave's 5 hot takes with Jon McLaughlin. So Jon McLaughlin, welcome to Dave's 5 hot takes.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here.
I am really excited about having you here. This is I've thought about this a lot, and this sort of feels like cheating a little bit, because it's like, 1, you're one of my closest friends. 2, you live across the street, which is funny because we're doing this in these, pandemic times via video chat, which
right. I can almost hear you outside my window.
I was going to say, if I just yelled this interview, we could do it from our front yards. But 3, in other exciting news, we have another podcast that we actually do together.
Yes, we do.
Called Dadville. I'm actually wearing my Dadville hat right now. You would be wearing yours, except you so benevolently gave it away to one of our friends last night.
I did. Yeah. He's a pastor, and he's actually my pastor. So I feel like the rule is call me old fashioned, but when your pastor asks for anything, you just give it to him.
Well, boy, has that gotten people into trouble throughout the years in church. Also, I think you can tithe less now.
Oh yeah.
That's counted as a
tithe deductible.
That's an AOC tithe, which is article of clothing tithe.
Yeah.
And it takes down the 10% to 7%. So John, this is really fun for me for a lot of reasons. One, because like I said, we're such good buds. Such an insanely talented artist, piano player, songwriter, and you're also one of my friends that's done it for a long time. This is how many years have you done this professionally now?
I mean, it's hard to say because you have those couple years where if I said it in a group of like close friends of mine, like my college roommates, if I was like, I've been doing this since 2001, they'd be like, well, dude, we were around those first couple of years. I don't know if you should count those.
It really does. Oh man, that got me right in my tickle box.
So I take those. Technically, I started writing songs in 2001, but I take 2001 to 2003, and I just count it as 1 year.
Yeah,
it shouldn't count as 2 years,
isn't it? I mean, oh man, that makes me laugh so hard. And this is why. There's a few reasons, but one, do you remember like at the beginning of your career how much you just wanted everything to count as a show? Like to be able to put a gig on your website, even if that was for like a free gig for your sister's Sunday school class, you'd put anything you could. I mean, I remember like if someone asked me to come by and play a song for their parents, I would really think about putting that on the site because it just felt so good to have gigs up there.
Oh, totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, if I had like a really good practice session on my own, I'd be like, myspace.com/past shows.
And you're like, I killed that set.
Yeah.
So you've been doing it. So you said you start. So really, what are we at? 17 years, 16, 17 years?
Yeah. Somewhere around there.
So one of the things that's so fun about this podcast is not just having my friends, especially who are musicians on, but having people that have done this for a long time. And not only have you played professionally for a long time, but you played a really long time as a child with piano.
Yeah.
Because you started, how old were you when you started?
I was about 4 when I started.
God, that's insane. Like, what does that mean? Like you started lessons then?
I might have started lessons when I was 5, maybe. I'm not sure. No one in the family remembers. I'm the third kid, so it's like the documentation on me compared to my brother and sister, way less. There's not really a paper trail for anything.
Yeah.
But around that time, I was about 4 when I started like messing around on the piano, and my parents noticed that I was like coming home from church and playing the hymns that we had sung that morning. Or some version of them. They could tell that I was playing Amazing Grace.
Right.
And then shortly thereafter, I started taking lessons. So
which fast forward a little bit, but do you remember when you wanted to be an artist? Like when was the first time that you thought, I want to write songs and be on stage and not just play piano, but sing? Like when was that?
It was a video. It was at our old house on Poplar Street, Anderson, Indiana, and I was watching the TV in the den, and I saw Billy Joel for the first time.
Wow!
Like he's on stage, and I remember he was wearing a T-shirt. Like he had a suit jacket on, but he had a T-shirt on underneath it, and that was the first time I'd ever seen that. I was like, because I'd seen my dad in a suit jacket and a tie and all that, but the T-shirt.
Yeah,
that was like stirring up a rebellion inside of me that I didn't even know was there. I was like, that seems like he's rebelling.
but very conservatively rebelling.
Yeah,
it's like because he could still eat in nice restaurants because of the jacket.
Yeah, like a rebellion that your grandmother could get behind. No,
which is how I've described my music all the time. Oh my gosh. Dave Barnes, a rebellion you can get behind. Oh my God. A safe rebellion.
A safe rebellion.
A rebellion for all the grandmas.
But
How old were you?
Well, we moved out of that house when I was 5. So
oh my gosh,
it was early. But that was the first time that I remember seeing somebody up on stage playing the piano, singing. He had sunglasses on. It was just so cool. And there's not a ton, like for every piano player, pop guy, girl, there's 10,000 guitar player, pop guy, girls on stage.
Yep,
you know what I mean?
Yep,
So we don't have as many of those as a piano player. So that was huge for me when I saw that. And ever since then, I'm like, that's what I want to do for sure.
So when did you start writing songs?
Well, I always, from a really young age, I started writing like little piano songs, with no lyrics. And then I wrote my first kind of pop song with lyrics, like freshman year of college.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And that was when you were on a healthy diet of like, what are you listening to then?
Just pizza and Mountain Dew.
No, I mean like musically.
Oh, musically.
So I can just assume all the songs were like 130 BPM, but then like a really severe drop off toward the end of the song down to 60.
They always had like a 9-minute outro at like 40 BPM, and then they would eventually just stop. I like my freshman year, I was listening to this weird combination of a lot of John Mayer. That's when I first discovered John Mayer, Room for Squares, and I would go jogging at night around campus and listen to Room for Squares, Coldplay, Parachutes, and like a lot of classical piano.
Oh wow!
Which is kind of a cool combo because Coldplay especially, but John Mayer too, has a lot of weird chords that you wouldn't, that you don't hear in pop music,
Right.
So there was a lot of that happening.
So there's actually some weird simpatico between those three things.
Right. Yeah.
When does, because I know Ben Folds factors heavily into this. He was earlier though, right? Wasn't that kind of high school for you?
Yeah. So it was, I remember the exact moment. I was in 8th grade. My buddy Jeff Owen, who's a musician, producer, awesome songwriter, guitar player here in Nashville. He and I grew up in the same town. We were going on a ski trip. So we were in his dad's car. He was driving us to the church to go on the ski trip. And he had Ben Folds 5, Whatever Never Amen, in the CD player. And I remember the moment. Ironically, we were right in front. We were driving past what would be my freshman dorm, years in the future. So in that little spot, sandwiched between the music building and what would be my future freshman dorm,
wow!
I heard Ben Folds 5 for the first time, and like changed my life. And that whole weekend, I stole his Discman and listened to that record just on loop. I just couldn't. Wow. I had never heard piano being played that way, and that kind of like raw, kind of punk, but really well done. And like the musicality was super high, but also like the profanity was super high.
And Ben was probably super high.
And yeah, the players were high,
Everything was high.
It blew my mind. Yeah.
It's funny. I will say this. For all of my friends who are piano players, who are really, really good piano players, Ben Folds has a part of all of their stories.
Yeah.
All of them. Almost, and this is a bold thing to say, but I would say the same for John Mayer, for my friends who are around our age that are great guitar players. And Dave Matthews, oddly enough, in some ways too. But I think you need a Ben Folds. And John, John's playing is not as bombastic and sort of, big as Ben's is, but he definitely brings, to your point earlier, he brings this, no, you can go farther out than that. And I think Dave Matthews did that. I mean, like you learn how to play Satellite and you're like, you can do, or like anything Dave Matthews plays on guitar has this, like, this is the least conventional way to ever think about the guitar, but it's so amazing. Like you think about any of those songs And you're like, I don't even know how he thought to do. You only can do that if you're not meaning to do it. You know what I mean? Like it has to be. And I think, so I think for guitar players that are our age, Dave Matthews to a greater degree, but also John and his chords and how he plays the chords and key changes, they just sort of take your brain and stretch it. And I feel like Ben Folds is that too, because Coldplay and Chris Martin are geniuses, but that's not what they're doing.
Right.
But those guys kind of take what and they stretch it to where you're like, oh, I can really get weird with this, or I don't have to do the conventional approach.
Well, and for me, who was studying, I was like this, piano nerd in 8th grade, where that has no place in your social life. I'm not talking with my friends about our piano lessons. No one's comparing notes. Anyone who was taking piano lessons back in elementary school, they're done with it. I'm the only guy left taking piano lessons,
But is there no safe place for that? Like there's no, you don't
that's
have
what Ben Folds 5
okay.
did for me, was say, hey, you can be like, here's this basically a punk band. If you went and saw their early live shows, it was like a
high
punk rock scene. Yeah. But he's playing really intricate chords and like major sevens and like chords that you wouldn't think would go if you press mute and were just watching the video. You're like, oh, this guy is just banging out some, fifths. But he's playing really intricate, sophisticated, complex music. And saying things like, singing, or later on, he would go on to like sing these really sweet songs for his kids and all that. And he somehow gets away with it because it all balances out. But that, to me, it gave me license to be like, okay, I don't need to be quite as closeted of a classical piano player.
Yes, that's a great way to put that. Yeah, he was. Yeah, that makes sense. So as you said, sort of fast forward back to where you were talking about your dorm and being in college. One of the fun things about you and I is that we've known each other. What did we figure out? 2000.
Well, it was in that dorm. So it was my freshman year. So it was either 2001 or 2002.
So you and I met in 2002. You played with Wirtz and I. We did a show. Matt Wirtz and I did a show at Anderson. You came and opened for us, and we immediately thought, this is now another person we have to kill. There can only be one, which is weird because Wirtz and I hadn't killed each other yet. But I just remember, one, you being so good. Like, you think of guys that come open for you as freshmen, and, you're kind of ready for what that's going to be. It's, if they're good, that just means there's potential. It's rare that they're really good yet. You know what I mean? And I remember Wirtz and I both that night kind of like looking at each other like, man, that guy, he's already like good. Like, I remember too feeling like it just seemed like you were already accomplishing so much and your star was already kind of starting to rise while you were at Anderson. Like, I remember thinking it was so cool that y'all had the Greenhouse Records thing. The school kind of had its own record label in the music department there. And they were already kind of fostering this thing, almost a little scene at your college where you were kind of you were kind of the dude, I think in that scene. And much like Rector, that's a lot of Ben's story is he was already kind of, his thing started way ahead of a lot of ours who got out of college and started. You and Ben both, while you were each in your respective colleges at different times, but you were already kind of getting after it. And I remember it felt like every time I went back to Anderson, you had gained more ground or put out more music, and you were sort of moving quicker than a lot of us were who later started.
Well, Anderson was a really great sort of bubble that I could do that in, because it's a small school. There's like 2,000 kids or so, but there was just enough of a scene there. There were a lot of other guys and girls that were really talented, but it wasn't too much that it was intimidating. It wasn't so much that I just kept it to myself and didn't get out there and in the mix of it. But it wasn't like I was the only guy doing it, so no one really understood what I was doing. It was that perfect level of, you can go play, it's small enough that I can go play like the parents' weekend, whatever, and it feel like a real show. I remember literally playing the parents' weekend for like new freshmen or something like that, and I get there and I thought I was just going to be doing background music while they were like eating dinner or something.
Oh, wow.
And I get there and there's like, 300 chairs set up facing a keyboard and I just got to step up and play a show, which was probably like my third time ever
doing that,
playing a show, you know, and I played for like an hour and a half, and it was one of the greatest times of my life. You know?
Which is so great because it gave you a place to get good at that. Like you didn't have to learn how to do that out on the road, where it can be a little more dicey if the fans are not quite as forgiving, or
they're already rooting for you a little bit.
Yeah.
And the show wasn't that good. I mean, I have no tape of it. I have no video, but I know it wasn't that good. But I was able to, do my thing in the room with a lot of forgiveness and a lot of like support. And then the next show was a little bit better, and et cetera, et cetera. But I wasn't at this giant school in 2020 where everything's recorded and it's part of your record. And,
right.
Right.
But it's funny you say record, because I do remember you putting out, did you put out 1 or 2 records while you were there?
I put out 2.
2, okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, even that, like to be in college and you're in a professional recording environment with guys that are playing and girls that are playing with you, and you're having to go like, oh man, I need to not be as loud because the drum mics are picking that up, or you know what I mean? Like that's such valuable training. It's like really good stuff before you head out into the world doing what you're doing now.
It was great. Yeah.
That's crazy. So fast forwarding a little bit, and we'll ask some more questions as we go, but you're also the only person that I've ever known that's played on the Academy Awards.
Oh my gosh. I've never been so nervous in my life.
I don't know how you wouldn't be. That would be terrifying.
I was I remember standing backstage on the, I was standing on this big like float type thing. Standing there, the curtain was closed, all the dancers are ready, and I can hear them announcing, the next song. Patrick Dempsey was announcing it. And I remember thinking, if I was 1 ounce more nervous, I would be physically incapacitated. I could barely like function. I was so nervous. There was just so much lead up to this one song. We were there all week. We rehearsed like 3 times a day with the orchestra. There was just so much lead up to this one moment.
Yeah. Can you just give us a quick backstory of how did So Close and all of that come to be? Because you're in, I should say you were in Enchanted. If anybody knows the movie, that very handsome, debonair man standing on stage as they dance with together in the movie. That's with substantial hair. Yeah. That's you.
Yeah. So it was, I was finishing up my Indiana record, and I was on Island Def Jam, and Island, the girl who ran, excuse me, I get choked up when I talk about
it. Say it's a very emotional.
The girl who ran the film and TV department at Island had a relationship with the girl who was the music supervisor for that movie.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And so they had this song that Alan Menken and Stephen Schwartz had written. They were looking for somebody to sing it, and they were chatting one day, and Spring, the girl at Island, was telling Dawn about this new guy that they had just signed, and she was like, oh, well, he sounds like he would be perfect for this song. So I flew to New York, recorded that song, which I was super psyched about because I'm a huge Alan Menken fan, and genius. Stephen Schwartz.
And so for those who don't know, Alan Menken is basically the guy behind all of the Disney songs that you know and love.
You can pretty much just name a Disney song and probably
and he had a part to do it. Yeah.
And so I went, sang the song, but at that point, it was just going to be the song. No, he wasn't there at that recording session.
Okay. This is like a tryout.
It's not a tryout, but we ended up having to re-record it because the producer changed. I can't remember the details, but at the second recording session, he was there, which was nerve-wracking.
Did he ever? Wouldn't it have been awesome if the key was in C, but you're not getting there, and he says, "I'm sorry, you're just a little under the C." That'd have been just a great moment for me. But that's huge. I mean, that's got to be, being on a major label has its pros and cons, and anyone that's done it knows it can be dicey, it can be amazing. But those are the moments that you go, this is one of the reasons I want to do this. Is I have, because you have a humongous major label that is excited about you, and they're trying to do everything they can to get you into those kind of positions, which is, I mean, that's such an amazing opportunity, you know?
Yeah. And it's not, as a musician, it's not something that you sort of have on your radar, you know?
That's really well said. That's
I mean,
right.
that has been one of, if not the most, as far as like a one single event that got me, you know, the most exposure, that's definitely got to be the one.
Yeah.
And you're always thinking of, you know, I want to win a Grammy, play at the Grammys, all this music stuff. And I wasn't necessarily thinking of movies, Academy Awards, all that kind of stuff. So it was really fun. And in a way, it took a lot of the pressure off. It's like, this is just a fun thing that I'm doing that's not part of my, you know, my normal kind of lexicon of stuff.
Yeah, right.
And you know, they asked if I wanted to be in the movie for a second, which was a blast. And Amy and I went up to New York. They filmed it in Brooklyn, and so I got to, you know, I'm in the movie for like 3.7 seconds, but
it's a powerful
3.7 seconds. But you know, I don't know anything about the movie. I don't know if it's going to be good. I don't know if it's going to be the worst movie ever. You know?
Yeah.
But that didn't matter to me. It was just like Disney and Alan Menken. I'm in. You know?
Yeah, done.
But it ended up, you know, being a great movie and nominated. You know, the 3 of the songs were nominated for Academy Awards.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So, and I remember getting off of, I was on the rock boat.
Oh my gosh.
And we got off the rock boat after having my, you know, phone off for a week. And I'm starting to get all these emails in like, you know, reverse order. So I'm reading through the emails from like my label and my management. And it's like, we hear that it might be nominated for an Academy Award. We're not sure. Did we find out, like, Brooke, did we find out that from the, you know, and I'm just like going through the emotions of, it looks like it's not going to happen. No, wait, it might happen. I just got an email. It's nominated. Can Jon sing? We don't know. Let's find out. You know, I'm just like,
which for me, terror, that's when the terror would start. Like, and excitement. Like,
oh yeah.
Oh, please don't, but please do. Oh, but please don't, but please
totally.
Do.
And that's the story of my life, is like, I'm always signing up for things and reserving my real emotion. I will be terrified, but I'm going to say yes. And then I'm going to figure out how to dig myself out of this hole.
Yeah. You know, and I have a very similar experience. I mean, I'm not trying to brag, but when I was on a soap opera, there was a very similar moment where they asked me to come on and sing. And, you know, I felt all those things. You know, this is a huge moment. So many people are watching this. I had a line.
At least all the cast.
The cast, my wife. Well, actually, Annie had gone back to get some food, but it was a really powerful. Okay, Jon. So let's dive in. We've got these 5 hot takes. I know you've been sort of cooking them up. You've been getting them ready.
I want to say I've never done so much homework for an interview.
That's. I'm going to take that as a compliment, even though I could take it as something else. But
I'm actually going to say I've never done this much homework.
Okay.
Just period.
All right. So what's hot take 1?
Hot take 1.
Well, let me first say that anyone who knows me knows I am a huge fan of sad songs. I love sad songs.
I'm with you.
A couple years ago, I went down to Oxford, Mississippi, and met with this producer, Dennis Herring.
Genius.
We were maybe going to do a record together. And I
he's
remember,
done, just for the fans, he's done, he did Counting Crows.
He did Ben Folds' Way to Normal.
Yeah, he did a great Georgia Clay album called When I Left the Zoo. He's a superstar.
He's awesome.
Elvis Costello, he's amazing.
Yeah, and he told me, he was like, a great song is a happy melody with sad lyrics.
Oh man!
And I was like, absolutely, it is. So, my first hot take is a song that literally, you know this, I literally have this song stuck in my head every day.
Oh yeah.
And just to be clear, that's not hyperbole.
No.
If I'm just aimlessly whistling, it's gonna be this old song, "Don't Get Around Much Anymore," which was written in 1940.
Really?
Duke Ellington wrote the music in 1940, and then I forget who the other guy was.
Benny Blanco, Max Martin.
I forget who wrote the lyrics. Bill Russell. I don't know. That's not right. Anyway, wrote the lyrics in 1942. But this song is. Let me turn these speakers on. So, my hot take on this song is that it's a happy, classic I mean, this is a standard.
Yeah.
This is a song that has. It's like an old hymn. It's like Amazing Grace. Like it has gone through the test of time and passed. You know, it's been re-recorded by countless artists over the decades. But it has this like happy little, music to it. Heard they crowded the floor. I mean, it's so
great. You feel great.
You feel great. It's happy. It's super, super hooky. And it's already doing chords that are outside of the normal kind of like 1, 4, 5. Like I'm playing in the key of C right now, right? Which normally you'd have like a pop song would be C, F, G, A minor, and that's it. Yep. You write the whole song.
Yeah.
So, but it's already going like C, D minor, E flat, diminished, raised fifth. I don't even know. And then C over E. And then before you're 2 bars into it, you're in a different key. You're in the key of A.
That is one of my favorite things of all time.
But the lyrics though are so sad. This is after a breakup. So and the singer is saying like, I don't get out much anymore. Like that phrase can slip by you because it's like, don't get around much anymore. Hey.
Yeah. It's kind of.
But it's like I'm depressed.
I'm super.
I'm
sad.
not leaving my house.
I'm literally in my house and eating Cheetos and warm-ups.
But the lyrics kill me. Like, I miss the Saturday dance. I heard they crowded the floor. Awfully different without you. Don't get around much anymore. Thought I'd visit the club. Got as far as the door. They'd have asked me about you.
It's just on that line.
It's just so good.
Isn't it amazing? Another song that's not sad that way, but is very misunderstood is the Bruce Springsteen Born in the USA. It's a different trick, but the trick is similar in that it's this born in the U, and everybody's like raising their fist, and then the whole song is about how the kind of the opposite, how overlooked
anti-war and all that.
Yeah, it's and so it is. That's a great point, and it does really prove this weird dilemma how our brain processes information. Because you just can't help but go to the melody first,
right?
And then like whatever iteration of listening it is later, you go, what? Wait. He doesn't get out much. Oh my God, that's so sad.
Yeah,
but
it's like the Colbert Report of songs. It's like. You're like, yeah. Wait a minute. What do you say?
Wait a second. Hold on.
Right? Hang on.
He's on our side. Yes, I agree with you. I think it is the trickiest. Like that little move, which I always wonder with songs like that if people are like really purposefully, or if it's something they just wrote and they went, oh, that's kind of interesting. I mean, I think Springsteen's probably well thought of. So I want to ask you that. So as we're talking about you're playing and people can hear as you're playing there, what you have such a distinct way that you play piano. I mean, I do think obviously you think of your growing up playing, but it's just so distinctive and it's not somebody kind of plodding along playing chords. If you listen to any of your music, one of the most consistent plumb lines through your music is your piano playing and how it's a big part of what you do. It's not backseat to what you do. I think that's a similarity with guys like, John Mayer, like we were talking about earlier, these artists who are not just known for their singing or their songwriting, but their playing is a huge part of what, people identify with them or know them as.
Yeah.
as you do that, like, is that something that you think about a lot, or is that a natural sort of like, that's just the way you approach songwriting and playing? Or are you kind of always thinking like, I need to have a little thing here and a theme here?
Well, I would say that I have I've gone through seasons where, for the most part, the short answer is yes, I always think about it. And if someone came up to me and gave me a compliment in the music world, there's kind of like a hierarchy of compliments that I would like to receive. You know what I mean? If someone, this is just me personally, if someone came up to me and said, "You're a great singer,"
yeah,
it's thank you, that's great, but that gets maybe the bronze medal for me.
Wow.
I would much prefer somebody say, "You're a great piano player." Or like,
wow, really?
How do you play that little thing? I love that chord or whatever. The ultimate, the only one above that would be if someone said, man, I love that lyric. That to me, for whatever reason, but those two are pretty up there, like the piano playing and the lyric.
To be clear, like with your lyric, even more than the song, even more than what you're playing in the song.
I think so.
Wow, yeah. That's amazing.
Just for someone to say like, man, I've never heard, and no one said this to me, but I'm just saying, I'm not quoting fans verbatim, but for someone to say like, oh, I've never heard it said that way, or I love how.
Yeah, I get that.
I love that lyric or whatever.
Totally get that.
I don't know I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's because that's the closest thing to an original thought.
Right.
Or original thing that I can actually create, because some kind of piano playing, it's all been done. It's the same 88 keys that everyone else has been playing for years, you know. Right. So I'm probably not doing anything new, and I'm definitely not the best piano player in the world, nor am I, trying to be. So I feel like the lyric is the closest thing you get to like creating actually something.
Yes, like original. Generating really authentic content that could only really have come from you. Yeah. And where do you, with your playing, because again, it's such an integral part of what you do. Like, and we've kind of talked about that, so maybe you've already spoken to it, but who do you like, what is that? What's the ingredients to make the cocktail of Jon McLaughlin's piano playing?
Ooh, that's a good question. No one's ever asked me that before. I mean, I do think that I have my voice on the piano, you know. I think it's the kind of thing where it's hard for me to hear that, because I'm always hearing someone else playing it. Like whatever song I'm writing, I'm hearing someone else sing it. It's it's like Sam Cooke is singing this new song that I'm writing. Right. It's not me. And when I'm playing like Harry Connick, or I'm trying to, you know what I mean? So I know that I have a voice, but it's harder for me to hear because it's so diluted and muddy in my own head.
Right.
But the ingredients are, I mean, Harry, Elton, Billy, and Ben Folds are the four pillars of whatever I'm playing. I mean, the only other thing that would be in there maybe is like Chopin, because I played so much of that in college. But I'm stealing from one of those guys all the time. Yeah. And it probably the combination of thievery is my own little cocktail.
I think that's all of our, that's a really, and I think for the listeners out there that are music fans, you know, that, because at first you'll think, oh, thievery, but that's all any of us that do this is a combination of our inspirations. Yeah. And I think, you know, if you're like, I like the way that Jon plays piano, or Dave plays guitar, or writes songs, or anything that we do, our singing, if you just peel back the layers, you open the hood, all the stuff's there. It's just, and it's true with every artist ever. Yeah. No one is without inspiration. And so I think, you know, it's always fun when you sort of, like, to your point about those four pillars, you sort of go, oh yeah, okay, I can sort of hear where that's there. But then what makes you is actually the cocktail of them. Right. And how they reiterate in Jon McLaughlin. Yeah. And then what's cool is then somebody that loves your music, that's a piano player, goes, oh, you know, one of my four pillars, Jon McLaughlin, so, you know, and then it's funny because now those guys have made their way into that person's playing through you, and so they just keep going on, you know, and on forever. Yeah. Okay, so hot take two.
Hot take two.
Okay, so we're sticking with the dichotomy, the balance, the opposite of happy music and sad lyric. This is maybe, gun to my head, and I have to pick the greatest chorus ever written.
Ooh.
It's King of Wishful Thinking. Go West. I mean,
walk me through it. Why do you feel this way?
Best lyric ever. Now, it's a little bit muddy maybe for me because there's a lot of nostalgia attached to this
It
song.
has to be.
This came out in 1990, right? So I was 7, 8 years old when this came out.
Yep.
I mean, so to me, when I hear this song, I'm immediately back at the Dolphin Club pool.
Of course.
And life is simple.
Swimming your tail
and
off.
I'm just, all I need to worry about is swimming and starburst and swimming and starburst.
Can that be the name of your autobiography?
I mean, it's just life. Like, girls haven't entered the picture. Nothing.
Yeah.
School's not a thing. It's just swimming and starburst. And this song, I'll get over you. I know I will. I'll pretend my ship's not sinking. And I tell myself I'm over you because I'm the king of wishful thinking.
Oh my gosh, that song.
And the thing is, and I feel this way about like Billy Joel's Piano Man, Billy Joel's New York State of Mind, which is coming up, spoiler alert, on a later hot take. Those songs, this song, like, I felt something before I even knew.
Yeah, that's a great.
I had nothing to relate it to. There was no, context, like angst or breakup or whatever.
Right.
But you just feel the emotion of it,
Which can I say actually echoes your first hot take.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it really is that. I mean, horns, everybody in that track is partying.
Oh, the bridge, that horn part.
Yeah. But it really proves your first point, because that's that song in the band Go West. They have a place. It's the same as you, because it was a formative. That's like 12 for me, 11 or 12. Age wise, and it's same thing. Like I don't know why it makes me so happy, but every time I hear it at that age, I'm like, I just want to hear this song until my ears bleed.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. That kind of perfect combination of you're at that age where you're just a sponge, but there's no. You said that really well. It's not coming in with any other information. It's just pure music hitting you. And you're just like, I just love what this is.
Yeah, and it's cool because there's nothing specific to attach it to, or it doesn't bring anything else into the picture other than itself. So you're not judging it. You're just feeling it.
You're just feeling it. I feel that way. One of the first sort of moments, one of my first songs like that was actually stay with me, but our house had burnt in Mississippi now, and it had burned to the ground, but we were on a vacation, and this fire happened in the basement that burned for about 6 hours. So it smoked the whole house. So we had to move into a house literally in our backyard, shared a fence with the house we stayed in. So it was this unbelievable blessing where we were literally just over the fence from our other house. But there was a little back house in this backyard of our rental house we stayed in for a few months. And we took me and my friends, this is when I was 13 to 14, we took a little space heater in there and we put up like some chairs and we'd hang out because that was like our little hangout spot. And When I See You Smile by Bad English would come on. It was just, I didn't know what it meant. I just know that every time, sometimes I wonder, I was just like, yes, I do. I feel like this, even though I don't know what's going on, but just the unadulterated emotion it would evoke, even though you had no context for what that emotion was.
Yeah.
And that's before it was like a heartbreak song because a girl broke up, and there was a real something to attach it to.
Yeah.
It was just coming in. That is, I love that you said Go West. To me, is I think a lot of people would feel that way about that band. I wonder what they're doing now. I'll find myself kind of like,
if you guys listening don't know Go West or don't know this song, go listen to it.
Yeah, you need
and
to
try to listen to it just once. I dare you.
Yeah. So okay, another question. We're kind of moving on. So I feel like you do. We've talked about your playing. You do such a good job combining it. It's sort of section B or B to your A part of the earlier question I asked about your playing. You do such a good job of combining your playing with your singing. Is that because it'd be one thing if you're leaning really heavy on the playing and it's kind of like the songs are, which I think artists have done to their detriment. It's like, the songs don't match their ability to play an instrument. But you're one of those few that sort of amazingly shot your way through the maze of being able to do both really well. Is that hard? Is it hard for you when you're sort of thinking about songs, where a vocal should be that the piano isn't getting in the way of, or how to make sure it has a place without overcoming, or vice versa,
Well, I'm a big believer in the song wins.
Oh yeah.
The song has to win.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care how good you are at whatever instrument. If you're writing a song, there's only so far. Let's say you're the greatest guitar player in the world and you have discovered some new way to play the guitar that's just blowing everyone's mind. The time limit on that, what is it? 2-3 minutes?
Yeah.
And if you don't have a hook in there,
you're out.
I'm done. I mean, good for you for learning how to do, you're a great guitar player, but the song has to win every time.
Same for great singers.
Yeah. Yeah. True. So I feel like it has been, like, my career has been a lot of years of trying to hit that bullseye of that balance of, this is a great song, which is hard enough on its own. I mean, this is a great song, but also I want it to represent me as a player, because that is really important to me. And, there have been songs where I feel like this song is great, in my opinion, and, the track is great. And when it comes time for that solo, then it's like, should it be a piano? Maybe not. I don't know. It's like the odds of hitting that bullseye every song, it's just not going to happen. But over the course of, 7-8 records, I think I've hit it a couple times.
Do you feel like that's a lot more than that, but do you feel like for me, it would be a struggle that I don't lean too hard on the piano playing? Like if the song is starting to struggle, I'm like, I just don't want a rocking piano part right now.
Oh, totally. I mean, like early on, my songs, I mean, another dichotomy or opposite, whatever you want to call it, that I think is true with a lot of these songs is, you got the happy melody with the sad lyric, but you also have you have some complex music that's happening and chords that are happening, but you have this hook that the listener doesn't know how complex that music is.
Yeah, right.
Which is another, I think, really valuable balance if you can get it. Not all songs have to have that, but early on in my career when I was starting out, it was just heavy complex. I was like, I want to hit all the notes all the time. Every 3 seconds, I need to hit all these notes. It doesn't matter. It just needs to be complex. People need to know that I can play.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which can really generate amazing things. And at the risk of sounding too weird, that can be a wonderful energy. You know what I mean? Because you do step out and you really go like, man, like he really knows what he's doing. Okay, so what's hot take 3?
Hot take 3.
Okay, so hot take 3 and 4 all
combo.
under the category of there is one specific chord progression that I am a sucker for. And
this is already going to be one of my favorite hot takes. So I can't wait to hear what this is.
And I wonder if, I have to think that there are non-musicians out there that don't care what these chords are, but they feel what I'm feeling. You know what I mean?
I love that.
Billy Joel's New York State of Mind. Oh. When I heard that song for the first time, I mean, the piano hook, that's a beautiful melody. That's beautiful, but the chords underneath it are, you got the 1, and then you're going to the major 3/7, which is, I think that what if I'm going to nerd out about why I love that change.
Please do. This is the place for it.
You have like, we're in the key of C, right? So you've got that C is supposed to be, your 1 chord is supposed to be major. Your 2 is minor. Your 3 is minor. Your 4 is major. Your 5 is major. Your 6 is minor. Your 7 is diminished. And then your 1 is major again. So this is breaking that rule. It's supposed to, and what I also think is amazing about it is music. All these notes don't have any significance or value just on their own. They are only valuable and have identity and have purpose in relation to each other.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So this chord right here means nothing right now. But if I started out here, now I hit that chord. Now it has it's pulling me somewhere because it came from here. And then it wants to drop down to this minor. It's that like it's that constant back and forth between dissonance and release, like tension and release, and it's all about building that tension.
Yeah.
And the 1 to the 3/7 to me is one of my favorite chord progressions ever. Yeah. Not to mention that after that it just gets even better. Like it's, like that chord right there.
Oh, give me a break.
Minor 4 over flat 7, and then you're in a different key.
Yep.
And so that even that right there, he's playing the same riff. It's the same hook, but it's not the same because it's coming from someplace. We used to be in C. Now we're in F. So
it's just it's
genius.
And it's so, you and I laugh about this a lot, but that's a piano song.
Yeah.
Like one of the things that I think you guys have a cheat code on as piano players is that you're used to seeing everything in front of you. Everything is an option at your fingers. Where the fretboard is it's so much more math. You gotta, to get that note, you gotta hold and bar this to get to and that's one thing I always get so jealous of. And I think too that I think piano players' melodic vocabulary, because of that, is just it's so thick and wide,
right?
And where it's just guitar players, you're kind of thinking about 6 chords at the most, 4, 5 if we're being honest. Where a piano player is like, I can have 100 chords in the song if I want to.
Oh yeah,
and I think that song especially is such an incredible. It shows that off to an incredible effect.
Yeah.
That anything you want to do is right there. And you can do that on guitar. It's not that you can't, but God, just the way you can do it on piano is so much more, it's just different.
It's just a little more user-friendly.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
So you said 3 and 4. So what's 4?
Hot take 4.
Yeah. So 4, same explanation. And when I heard this for the first time, it brought out the same emotion. I just instantly loved this change. The Georgia, the whole day through. Just like, there's just something about that major 3 that just gets me every time. I mean, I could rattle off. I remember listening to Sublime Santeria for the first time.
Boy, did I not see that coming.
Right? But it's the same change.
It isn't. John, do you feel like I talked about this with Kevin Griffin on another one of these interviews for Dave's 5 Hot Takes. I think knowing that Billy Joel was such an insanely huge Ray Charles fan.
Yeah.
That's where that came from. When he was writing New York State of Mind, which he always said he wrote thinking of Ray Charles, like he wanted to write a Ray Charles song. That the major 3, from which Ray didn't write that song, but obviously he made it hugely famous. Yeah. That's where he goes, and yet it doesn't. It makes you feel the same thing, right? You feel what the nostalgia, whatever that is that you're feeling, it's heartfelt, whatever. Yeah. But you don't think, oh, Georgia, okay, I see what you're doing.
Right, exactly.
Great piano players and musicians might, they made it. Okay, I see where you're going. But I promise you, by the 4th chord, they're in that movie completely immersed. They're not thinking about it anymore.
Yeah.
But I think too, it's always so interesting to me because I think that we're always building. I mean, we already said this, earlier on. We're always building on the backs of the people. We're always taking what people have done and are just adding to it in ways that feel the same, but create new things.
Yeah.
And I think too, and Kevin and I kind of talked about this a little bit too. I also think there's something funny in songs where when a song establishes a mood so much like Georgia does. Georgia
just right off the bat too.
And every time you hear that song, you feel all those things.
Yeah.
Right. You feel, and that chord progression is a huge part of that, of the reason why. So I really believe this. I think iconic songs that sort of introduce a chord progression or introduce a vibe or a feel, us that are way down the line years later, you can actually cheat by using the same chord progressions and evoking the same emotion because that emotion was so established in a chord progression that was just at the right time and just happened at the right. Yeah. And so, when I think about Georgia on My Mind, but even oddly enough, you think of, I mean, I'm pulling this out of thin air, but I think about songs like Blackbird and what Paul was doing on the guitar and how does that affect any other song that has that kind of singular, you're moving up the fretboard. It does. Because when that song came out, it was such a unique moment in pop music and it was so profound and effective that you think about Fast Car by Tracy Chapman years later. And you're like, some of why you love Fast Car is actually because you love Blackbird.
Yeah. You're like, I'm familiar with that mood.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And so I think there's kind of a fun cheat code for us songwriters without we even know we're doing it, that when you're sort of dipping into some of these chord progressions that are iconic because of a song that sort of introduced them, you almost get to move up about 20 feet. You can skip some steps because people are already like, oh man, I don't know why I feel like this right now, but I feel like this.
Yeah.
And you haven't even done anything yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which I think is really, again, it's a fun, like not cheat code, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, you don't have to talk so much about that. So John, I want to talk about mood. So you've done all of these records. You've been doing it, like we said, for vaguely 16, you would argue 17, 18 years. And then, this far into a career for someone who's so known for playing piano as incredibly as you do, and you are one of the best piano players, I think, that plays piano alive today. And I mean that, you put out these two EPs that now become a super album of instrumental piano music, which they're incredible. I mean, I think your ability to put all of these songs that are so different, there's so many things to respect about it. One, that you would do it. I will always champion people who are like, I'm going to take a little bit of a left hand turn in my artist career because there's something else that I can offer. I love that. Two, that that they're instrumental. Three, that they're so different. But I think four, they're so good. It's not every one of them is in your playing is, and it's, again, this isn't like Billy Joel where he composed those pieces and he had the guy play them, which is fine. Yeah. But that you're actually playing them too. So it's a myriad of things to respect about that record, but it's such a good record. Tell me, why did you decide to do it? And how do you feel about it now that you've done it?
Well, I mean, it's funny because the moment when I sort of decided to do it was like comedically idiotic. Like I was on a call with my management, and my manager just said, he was like, this was shortly after we had started working together. So we hadn't known each other for years and years and years. It was like, we knew each other for a couple of months. So he was like, didn't you grow up doing like classical music and stuff like that? Didn't you study classical piano? I was like, oh yeah, that's like my foundation. And he's like, well, why don't you ever do anything with that? And that was it. I mean, completely comedically idiotic. Like someone would think, you literally never thought ever before. And which, I mean, what I would do sometimes is, like a couple years ago, I did a tour where I played almost every night. I played this song, Promising Promises.
Yeah, I love that
And
song.
in the middle of Promising Promises, I do this piano solo. But I would go into this Chopin piece in the middle of it and kind of have this extended. So there were some things that I would do live where I would borrow, or I would play an old classical piece.
Yeah.
But I had never written anything like that. And
I just want to pause for a second. It really is astounding. Like, I would love to get into your brain and spelunk why you never did that. Like, what kept you from going, I should just write a little 30-second piano. Obviously, those would then go into songs, I'm sure, a lot of times. You know what I mean?
I think that was it. I think anytime I would have any kind of a little hook, I would turn it into a pop song. For
sure.
I think it came at a great time for me because he, David, my manager, says this, opens up this window at a time where I think, had I not started doing Mood, I think I would have gone into a real dry spell pop-wise. Like, just at the time, I didn't have any lyrical ideas. I was really I needed to take a break from trying to write pop music for a while. And this Mood thing, I mean, was in there and just like ready to come out. And
it feels like that because living across the street from you, it felt like every other day there for a while, you were like, hey, can I play this little? It was like that stuff had just been sitting and was ready to explode.
Yeah.
Because you wrote so many so quickly. You know what I mean? Well, and you didn't have a lot of swings and misses. I feel like every idea you played for me, you wrote.
Well, and I think that what I love about it is that it's a little bit, you and I as songwriters know, when you get together to write a song, I mean, the music is huge, of course, but how much time are you spending on the music versus how much time are you spending on the lyric? You're spending 75% of your time on the lyric, always. So the lyric just takes so much energy.
And especially too with guys like you, again, 16, 17-year career, same with me. I mean, it is hard to find something to talk about that you already haven't talked about.
Oh, totally. I mean, I would argue that if you haven't talked about it, someone else has. Like,
oh my gosh.
There's no new angle on anything.
Right.
So for me, it was so freeing to not have to worry about the lyric. But, and I know this maybe sounds corny, but it's not like I wasn't writing an emotion I felt like I was creating and saying just as much. I just wasn't using lyrics.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it. Yeah. It is. I love, and for those who are listening that are musicians and artists, I think Jon, that album is such a great example and should be a great source of encouragement and challenge you for those things that you also can do to lean into them. I think there's never been a better time in sort of the history of music to diversify. And especially, you're a mutant with this, Jon, and not everybody can play their instruments or whatever their other thing would be as well as you play piano. But I just think as a fan of yours too, it's another way that I go, man, I can't believe he can do that. And it's another thing that I can really gravitate toward and enjoy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what's
thank you.
Well, I mean that. What's hot take 5?
Hot take 5.
So we're gonna end my 5 hot takes with a man who completely, like, all of the nice compliments you have been giving me, I receive those and I will hold on to those. I'll get those out and every rainy day that comes my way, and they will be an umbrella to me. So thank you. But this guy is on another planet. Come By Me, Harry Connick Jr.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
not going to play. I'm not going to touch my piano anymore during
Yeah.
this interview because I'm not going to talk about Come By Me by Harry Connick Jr. and try to even reference anything.
Oh my gosh.
If you guys haven't heard, the listeners haven't heard this song, it is maybe the best example that I can think of bridging the gap between, like what we were talking earlier, let's find a song where you're really, really playing, but let's also find a song that is super hooky, has a great, lyric, and people can leave the concert singing this song. It's so hard to get those two together.
Yeah.
This song starts out with him singing, and then he goes into this like 2-minute solo that will 100% blow your mind. And it for the non-musicians, non-piano players out there who are listening, go and listen to this song and think, I don't know, that sounds hard. Is that hard? It is impossible, is what it is.
And if John, I want to back up what John said. If Jon McLaughlin is saying this is hard to play, it is hard to play.
It is impossible. And not only is it played well, or not only is it just an amazing piece of music that he put together, but the fact that he can also play it flawlessly. Yeah. And I've seen him, you and I have gone and seen him at the Ryman. Yeah. And he plays this song and he also embellishes it and makes it even. He'll do like a 6-minute intro.
He's looking at the crowd. One of the things that this is a weird thing to say, because I'm a humongous Harry Connick Jr. fan. And he's another one of those, which I love when we have simpatico on the podcast. But like, speaking to your Mood record, he's another one when he did Star Turtle and his couple of pop records. That was a huge left turn for him. And those records are incredible.
Yeah.
Even if you don't like them from a song standpoint, you have to sit and listen and respect what he's doing, because the playing, and I love them. I'm very much, but this is what I was going to say. One of the things that I grieve about him is I think because he is such an incredibly entertaining guy and he's so handsome, and
it's frustrating.
It's almost like I think people don't understand how gifted he really is musically.
I do wonder that as with the American Idol stuff and like everything that he's done in the last 10 years and his show and all that, which is all great. I love that he's on those shows, but I do wonder the 17-year-old singing in front of him. I'm like, did they have any idea
what he's doing?
The genius that he is.
And really, and you say that, well, John, I mean, he's I remember like finding out like with his shows, if you ever go see him live and his records, like he is writing the string charts, the horn charts. He's producing, he's writing a lot of those songs. I mean, and this is not first, second grade stuff. I mean, the incredible depth of what those charts are and how they're going with the band and coming in and out and super dynamic. It's incredible. And so one of the things I grieve about him, which is a weird thing to say, is that I just don't know that he'll ever get his, just desserts, if you will, because he's just so wonderfully normal too. Like he's funny. If you see him live, to me, and I'm coming in hot, it's the most entertaining show I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I watched him entertain and I thought, this is a guy who literally looks like he was born on a stage. He's so comfortable. He's so funny. He gets up, grabs the mic, just kind of walks around, makes jokes, and then sits down and plays like he could be falling asleep. He's so calm. And what he's playing is so insanely hard to do. One of my favorite things, I remember a friend showing me, he was playing in London. We've talked about this, John, but it may have been Come By Me, actually. And he's playing.
I remember this.
Yeah, he's playing.
He tweeted you, right?
That's right. Well, me and HCJ. But he's playing Come By Me, which is in 4/4. And the crowd, because their English is clapping on 1 and 3. And traditionally, if you hear a song, dun, 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 you're clapping on 2 and 4. That's where the snare drum goes. And you can see him. He's kind of. So he throws one bar of 5/4 in to flip their clapping onto the 2 and 4. And let me tell you something. I, as a musician, I don't know that I have ever seen something as cool as that. I really don't. Yeah. Because for him to sit there and go, okay, how can I get? Oh, I know. I'll throw one extra beat because mathematically that shifts them one beat back to the 2 and 4.
To have the wherewithal to think, oh, I can correct this. To have the confidence that you have control of the room while you're performing, you're being filmed, all that kind of stuff. And it sounds like a simple thing to do, but I don't know if I could pull it off.
It's incredible.
You know what I mean?
It's incredible. The best part of that video too is, this is my favorite thing, is it's got this, the way that the video shot is, it's shot and you see his rhythm section on the back of the stage, because it's just him playing. It's, that song is just him and a piano, and they all freak out. They all like throw their hands up because you are in the presence of something that is so insanely amazing.
Yeah.
And I love that they are all like, yeah, this is amazing. Okay, so last question I have for you before we wrap this thing up. Tell me, I love dueling pianos. Can you tell me about that? It's this wonderful thing, and for those who haven't seen it, you have to go check it out. John's got a Patreon page that's sort of the gateway drug into this world of amazing videos. But it's this amazing thing where John has friends. I've done it with him, but all these friends come on, and it's he and a lot of times other piano players playing songs together, sort of mashed together into bigger songs. I love this idea. Can you sort of tell me about that?
Well, again, this was an idea that my management and I came up with, and at first I was kind of scared to do it, because it's like, it's one of those things where you got to get kind of a film crew together, and there's a lot of lead up to what could go well or might not go well. Like I remember before we did the very first one, which was with Ben Rector and Gabe Dixon, I was putting together these arrangements thinking, I don't know if this is going to actually sound good to the listener. Yeah. Like this might be way too much piano. We may get the whole film crew, get the lights set up. We got the 2 grand pianos. We got the mix engineers ready to go.
Because it's not a small production. I mean, y'all need to understand, this isn't like John throws up his iPhone and records he and his friends playing songs together.
Right. I was like, I don't know how this is going to go. It might not sound good. And so within the first, 2 bars, I was like, oh, this is going to work. This is going to be really fun.
That's a great feeling.
And it's been really fun to do, but also like what has been most fun about it, which this, because when you and I did it, we had a miscommunication where you had texted me. I forget the details, but I thought we were doing different songs.
Oh yeah.
You texted me something, and I got there, and I was like, this is weird that Dave wanted to do these 2 songs, but we're doing these 2, and you were like, no, that's not what I meant. So if you guys go, the listeners go and watch the 2 songs that Dave and I did, which were so fun to do.
So much fun.
We threw that together. Right before.
Yeah.
Literally right before. And those have been the most fun. Like I did one with Will Anderson, lead singer of Parachute. And I had one song that I knew we were going to do, and I thought, we're just going to do this one song today, because that's the only arrangement that I could come up with. And then when we got to the studio, we did that one song, and then afterward, he started playing one of my songs a little bit, and I was like, hang on, just keep playing that real quick. And then I started playing one of his songs that I had listened to on the way to the studio, and they just went together.
They worked.
So it's sort of, dueling pianos has forced me into a headspace that I'm not normally in, where it's like you can't really plan. You're just going to step into this river and just ride it, and we'll see where it goes. Yeah. And it's been super fun and great every time.
One of my favorite things about, because I've talked to Ben Rector and I talked to Will right before they did those, and both of them were terrified. I just remember them being like, this is literally like, it's like, Da Vinci invites a friend of his over that draws, and they're going to just draw in front of crowds of people at the same time, because Ben he's a great musician, but I mean, he hasn't played for his whole life. Your gift set is very different than his. Same with Will. I mean, Will would tell you, like, he tinkers a lot more than he's like he calls himself being played. But I just remember randomly running each of them separately before they did theirs, and they were both like, I really don't know why I said I would do this. Like, this is the dumbest decision.
I will say I have got that from some other friends of mine it's been an ongoing project to try to convince them to do it.
Yeah.
And they're like, dude, I just don't know. And I'm like, look, I feel the same way, but I have to do it. I'm just as scared as you are. I have to do every single one. How do you think I feel?
Oh my gosh.
But it's
Johnny,
great.
thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Great takes, by the way. Those were you did. I want to say I'm giving you an A. I'm giving you an A to A+ on the homework. You knocked it out. I always appreciate musical references. So I'm glad that, because I think it's easy to talk about things, but when people kind of play with your, it gives people like, oh yeah, I know what that means.
Yeah.
So thanks for all
this was great. It was really fun.
Hard work. Okay, cool. Well, hopefully we'll see you next time. Dave's 5 Hot Takes.
5 Hot Takes. Yeah.
Dave's 5 Hot Takes. Yeah.